Okay, family, we're gonna start this one off. This is a real deep video. Um, this is just the premiere of a series of videos showing that Dr. Fauci just isn't the most honest person in the world and that he's not who we think he is. I'm gonna give a detailed demonstration of how he's directly involved with everything that's going on. I'm also going to show a couple of other key players and how they ease their way into knowing what's going on. Part of a big old plan to destroy human and control mankind. So this is a tale of lies, death, theft, and destruction. Let's get started. Let's get started, shall we? And then I'm going to do a documentary that's going to blow your mind. So you guys get ready. Where should I start? I'm going to start here with the PowerPoint. We're going to start right here. Let's share. Let's go all the way to the front so you guys can get a gist of what's going on. Okay, this is, I guess we all know who this person is. I don't have to say their name. So what we're going to do here, we're going to let him speak on what needs to be done in his mind. In his mind, what needs to be done for the earth.
Zero. This equation has four factors, a little bit of multiplication.
Come on.
Zero. This equation has four factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3 to zero.
Pay close attention to what he said. If we do it, I'm going to let you hear this one more time, and I just want you to listen to what he's saying. I'm not going to comment on it. I'm going to let you listen.
This equation has four factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3.
Okay, family. He said one of those that population got to come down. Did you hear what he said? How they could lower that number. We're gonna leave that right there because this is a series of videos, and each portion of these slides are going to get broken down thoroughly and show you all of the players involved. Okay, he just remember he said with what they could do to lower the population, and I want you to understand how he knows anything about what's going to happen you know, like with an outbreak. Dr. Fauci, we're going to get back to him, but I'm going to go to this right here, because that video was in 2010. Harvard professor and 2 Chinese nationals charged in 3 separate China-related cases. In 2018, I'm going to show that slide on the next video. A Harvard professor, scientist that was working at Harvard, got caught in the Detroit National Airport with vials of SARS and MERS stuffed in his sock. You have to realize that that's all a part of this, the COVID-19. Okay, this guy, a Harvard professor, Lieber, this is the indictment from the United States Attorney, District of Massachusetts, U.S. Attorney, District of Massachusetts, Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney's Office, okay, for immediate release. Tuesday, January 28, 2020. Harvard professor, university professor, and 2 Chinese nationals charged with 3 separate Chinese-related cases. The U.S. Attorney's Office announced today that the chair of Harvard University's Chemistry and Chemical Biology Department and 2 Chinese nationals have been charged in connection with the aiding to the People's Republic of China. Okay, I'm not going to go into this one because I'm going to go into detail into each one of these slides in the next video. Okay, I'm going to get to the portion here of what he lied about. Lieber. Okay. Okay, I'm going to write, according to the court documents, in 2008, Dr. Lieber, who had served as a principal investigator of the Lieber Research Group at Harvard University, which specializes in the area of nanoscience, has received more than $15 million in grant funding from the National Institute of Health. That's from Dr. Fauci. He had received over $15 million from Fauci now in the United States government. They didn't know who Fauci and what Fauci was giving the money to, though. That's why Rand Paul is on it. In grant funding from the National Institute of Health and Department of Defense. These grants require the disclosure of significant foreign financial conflicts of interest, including financial support from foreign governments and foreign entities. Unbeknownst to the Harvard University, beginning in 2011, Lieber became a strategic scientist at Wuhan University of Technology. At the Wuhan lab. Oh, they gave him 15 million. You got to realize that Gates was his homeboy, Lieber. You see where I'm going with this? He was indicted last year. And the Chinese national, the female that was a lieutenant in the Chinese Republic Army, they found vials of SARS and MERS in her apartment, but she's never been caught. We'll get back to this later. Later. Okay, now you got some of the players in here now. That directly ties him to Dr. Fauci. Directly. He got 15 million from Dr. Fauci, the NIH. You know how non-for-profits go and how the grants go. Follow me. For gain of function research. Okay. I want to let you know that Senator Rand Paul is a maverick, and we're going to show you right here in this slide. I'm going to show you, play an exchange for you, and you listen to everything that Fauci denies and everything he says, and then we're going to go back.
Dr. Fauci, we don't know whether the pandemic started in a lab in Wuhan or evolved naturally, but we should want to know. 3 million people have died from this pandemic, and that should cause us to explore all possibilities. Instead, government authorities, self-interested in continuing gain-of-function research, say there's nothing to see here. Gain-of-function research, as you know, is juicing up naturally occurring animal viruses to infect humans. To arrive at the truth, the U.S. government should admit that the Wuhan Virology Institute was experimenting to enhance the coronavirus's ability to infect humans. Juicing up super viruses is not new.
Scientists in the U.S. have long known how to mutate animal viruses to infect humans. For years, Dr. Ralph Barrick, a virologist in the U.S., has been collaborating with Dr. Shi Zhengli of the Wuhan Virology Institute, sharing his discoveries about how to create superviruses. This gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH. The collaboration between the U.S. and the Wuhan Virology Institute continues. Doctors Barrick and Shi worked together to insert bat virus spike protein into the backbone of the deadly SARS virus, and then use this man-made supervirus to infect human airway cells. Think about that for a moment. The SARS virus had a 15% mortality. We're fighting a pandemic that has about a 1% mortality. Can you imagine if a SARS virus that's been juiced up and had viral proteins added to it, to the spike protein, if that were released accidentally? Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research.
Listen to that. He said has not ever and does not now. I want you to listen to that. This was just last month. I'm gonna start that over, right? I'm gonna go back a little bit. And I'm gonna let it play.
Spike protein, if that were released accidentally. Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund
of
Dr.
Virology.
Barrick?
We do not fund.
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain-of-function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain-of-function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina.
You don't think inserting a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute into the SARS virus is gain of function?
That is
you would
not
be in the minority, because at least 200 scientists have signed a statement from the Cambridge Working Group saying that it is gain of function.
Well, it is not. And if you look at the grant and you look at the progress reports, it is not gain of function, despite the fact that people tweet that.
So do you still support sending money to the Wuhan Virology Institute?
We do not send money now to the Wuhan Virology
Do you support
Institute.
sending money? We did under your tutelage. We were sending it through EcoHealth. It was a sub-agency and a sub-grant. Do you support the money from NIH that was going to the Wuhan Institute?
Let me explain to you why that was done. The SARS-CoV-1 originated in bats in China. It would have been irresponsible of us if we did not investigate the bat viruses and the serology to see who might have been infected.
Or perhaps it would be irresponsible to send it to the Chinese government that we may not be able to trust with this knowledge and with this incredibly dangerous viruses. Government scientists like yourself who favor gain-of-function research.
I don't favor gain-of-function research in China. You are saying
naturally
things that are not correct.
We're gonna stop it right there. He says he don't favor gain-of-function research. We're gonna stop it right here. You know, in 2012, Dr. Fauci advocated for gain-of-function research, despite admitting the risk of creating a global pandemic. Fauci argued benefits of gain-of-function research outweighed pandemic risk in 2012 paper. What did he just say? But I'm gonna let you hear him right here speaking on it himself. Then we're gonna go back to that other slide.
For the budgets of NIH, DHS, and others that may be recipients on the.
For the opportunity to testify today on the NIH mission of performing biomedical research for the purpose of preparing for and responding to naturally emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases, and the relationship of this type of research to biological security. As you mentioned in your statement, the issue at hand is the ongoing threat of the emergence of an H5N1 pandemic influenza and the research that was supported by the NIH to address this threat. The conduct and publication of the results of such research in the form of the 2 manuscripts that you mentioned has focused considerable public attention on the issue of dual-use research, namely research that is directed at providing new information critical to the public health, but at the same time has the potential for malevolent applications. My written testimony is submitted for the record, and in my few minutes of time, I will highlight just a few important aspects of this issue. First, the public health challenge. Seasonal influenza is an ongoing threat to public health worldwide and is among the leading global causes of death due to infectious diseases. Each year, influenza causes more than 200,000 hospitalizations and up to 49,000 deaths in the United States and up to 500,000 deaths globally.
We'll go in depth into this tomorrow on the next video. But this is him doing this, advocating for gain of function. Remember that he just said he has not ever and will not advocate for gain of function and did not support it. He just said that to Rand Paul, and that was 2 months ago. He must have forgot about this because it was back in 2012. Because I have the gain of function research ethic analysis right here. And the executive summary states, gain of function research involves experimentation that aims in the expected, aims or is expected to, this is very small, y'all gotta bear with me, increase the transmissibility and or virulence of pathogens. Such research usually aims to improve understanding of disease-causing agents, their interaction with human hosts, and or their potential to cause pandemics. The ultimate objective of such research is to better inform public health and preparedness efforts and or developments of medical countermeasures. Despite the importance potential benefits, gain of function research can pose risk regarding biosecurity and biosafety. I'm going to read, I'm going to get a bigger copy of this tomorrow so I can read it to you, because this is the executive summary of gain of function is totally a danger to humankind and society. And they knew that. I have all 32 pages of this gain of function research ethical analysis. We're just talking about the ethics of Fauci, because we're going to go back to Senator Paul grilling him right here. And we're going to start right here from where we finished.
Dr. Fauci.
No, we're going to get back to right here.
You find Dr. Barrick's gain of function.
Listen to it.
You are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain of function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund?
He said they have not ever and does not now. The indictment from January 28, 2020 last year says right here, principal investigators of the Lieber Research Group at Harvard University, which specializes in the area of nanoscience, has received more than 15 million in grant funding from the National Institute of Health, NIH. And he was working as a strategic scientist at Wuhan, where this virus was leaked from. And okay, he said that it couldn't. I got all these slides that I'm going to play for you tomorrow. This is just a precursor into what you're finna get into. He said that it couldn't have been a leak. It had to come from an animal, that it mutated. Well, COVID-19 has spike prone on it of HTLV, human T cell lymphocytes virus. It has one of those receptors on it. And the only way it could get there is if it was placed there. You see? That's part of all of this. See, we have the patent on the coronavirus and the patent on the vaccine. So the only way that it could have got that HTLV receptor on it, and any scientist can tell you that, because it can't be mutated from an animal, is if it was placed onto that protein, onto that virus. So they also knew, any scientist, I'm going to play a scientist from India saying this as well, also knew that at that point that this was man-made and that it had to be leaked from Wuhan. That's why everything's coming out in the news now. But you got to go back to all of this, back to 2010 with the first video I played. One of those numbers had to come down. And the only way they could do that was by, you just listen to what he said. I'm going to play that again before this is over. But we've already caught Fauci in one lie. Because right here, it states that they gave 15 million to Lieber. And he was in Wuhan, and this was back in, I think he started, according to the court documents, since 2008, he was at Harvard, but after 2000, he started in 2011. Old Bill gave that speech in 2010. Him and Lieber, Lieber used to work for Old Bill. So you getting the connection? Fauci was on Bill Gates' board, his foundation's board. So that's three of these people who are connected, directly connected. And Lieber directly connects the other two to Wuhan. Fauci's connected the NIH. He's over the NIH. He's gave Lieber $15 million. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm going with this? In 2018, one of these Chinese scientists that got caught with the vials of SARS and MERS, two of the main components in COVID, has a connection to Lieber. They're on the indictment together. You see where we're going with it? It ain't gonna take us long though, you know. We're gonna get back to Fauci.
Dr. Fauci, in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund Dr. Barrick?
We do not fund.
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain of function research?
Dr. Barrett does not do gain of function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina.
You don't think inserting a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute into the SARS virus is gain of function?
That is
you would
not
be in the minority, because at least 200 scientists have signed a statement from the Cambridge Working Group saying that it is gain of function.
Well, it is not. And if you look at the grant and you look at the progress reports, it is not gain of function, despite the fact that people tweet that.
So do you still support sending money to the Wuhan Virology Institute?
We do not send money now to the Wuhan
Do you
Virology
support
Institute.
sending money? We did under your tutelage. We were sending it through EcoHealth. It was a sub-agency and a sub-grant. Do you support the money from NIH that was going to the Wuhan Institute?
Let me explain to you why that was done. The SARS-CoV-1 originated in bats in China. It would have been irresponsible of us if we did not investigate the bat viruses and the serology to see who might have been infected.
Or perhaps it would be responsible to send it to the Chinese government that we may not be able to trust with this knowledge and with this incredibly dangerous viruses. Government scientists like yourself who favor gain of function research.
I don't favor gain of
maintain
function research in
that
China.
disease
You are
arose
saying
naturally.
things that are not correct.
Government defenders of gain of function, such as yourself, say that COVID-19 mutations were random and not designed by man. But interestingly, the technique that Dr. Barrick developed forces mutations by serial passage through cell culture that the mutations appear to be natural. In fact, Dr. Barrick named the technique the no-see-em technique because the mutations appear naturally. Nicholas Baker in the New York Magazine said nobody would know if the virus had been fabricated in a laboratory or grown in nature. Government authorities in the U.S., including yourself, unequivocally deny that COVID-19 could have escaped a lab. But even Dr. Shi in Wuhan wasn't so sure. According to Nick,
Equivocally denied that it could. He did his best to say, no, it could have never escaped from a lab. But he knew all the time that it did. And he knew all the time that because of this one little mishap right here about the HTLV receptor that's on there, it can only come from a human and it can only be placed onto that COVID-19. That means it was engineered that way. So it didn't escape from a lab. It didn't come from, it didn't escape from a animal. It was engineered, and that receptor, that I'm gonna read it again, get it for you. The HTLV receptor proves that beyond a reasonable doubt. And Senator Rand Paul, 2 thumbs up, buddy.
Nicholas Baker, Dr. Shi wondered, could this new virus have come from her own laboratory? She checked her records frantically and found no matches. That really took a load off my mind, she said. I had not slept for days. The director of the gain of function research in Wuhan couldn't sleep because she was terrified that it might be in her lab. Dr. Barrick, an advocate of gain of function research, admits the main problem that the Institute of Virology has is the outbreak occurred in close proximity. What are the odds? Barrick responded, could you rule out a laboratory escape? The answer in this case is probably not. Will you, in front of this group, categorically say that the COVID-19 could not have occurred through serial passage in a laboratory?
I do not have any accounting of what the Chinese may have done, and I'm fully in favor of any further investigation of what went on in China. However, I will repeat again, the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain of function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
You support it in the U.S. We have 11 labs doing it, and you have allowed it here. We have a committee to do it, but the committee has granted every exemption. You're fooling with Mother Nature here. You're allowing super viruses to be created with a 15% mortality. It's very dangerous. I think it was a huge mistake to share this with China, and it's a huge mistake to allow this to continue in the United States. And we should be very careful to investigate where this virus came from.
I fully agree that you should investigate where the virus came from. But again, we have not funded gain of function research on this virus in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, no matter how many times
you're parsing words. There was research. There was research done with Dr. Shi and Dr. Barrick. They have collaborated on gain of function research where they enhanced the SARS virus to infect human airway cells, and they did it by merging a new spike protein on it. That is gain of function. That was joint research between the Wuhan Institute and Dr. Barrick. You can't deny it.
Senator Paul, your time has expired. Dr. Fauci, I will let you respond to that when we need to move on.
Excuse me?
I will allow you to respond.
We're going to get into a lot more than this, but you see, he's lied. He just said he didn't fund it, and it's right here in the indictment. Which specialized in the area of nanoscience, has received more than 15 million in grant funding from the National Institute of Health and the Department of Defense. These grants require the disclosure of significant foreign financial conflicts of interest, including financial support from foreign governments. See, he was working in Wuhan then, back in 2011 when he was getting all this money. See, Gates said in 2010, we need to get some of these people out of here. So we got to come up with some vaccines, you know what I'm saying? The healthcare system, but with all that, we can, and you know, abortions, child, you know what I'm saying, reproductive services, we can lower that number by 10 to 15%. You know, and then he sent his buddy over here to Wuhan because and then, you know, at that time, Dr. Fauci was on his board, his foundation board. I'm kind of flexing over here. Fauci just got caught lying a lot. I just proved that, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to go to him about masking lying, you know what I'm saying? But I want to go one more thing. I want y'all to hear him warning the Trump administration about an outbreak. How did he know it's going to be an outbreak? How?
With you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today, is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge, the coming administration, in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand why history, the history of the last 32 years that I've been the director of NIAID, will tell the next administration that there's no doubt in anyone's mind that they will be faced with the challenges that their predecessors were faced with.
He said there is no doubt that they will be faced with the challenges that their predecessors will be faced with. So he told them, y'all finna have this virus. It's coming. He said it's coming. So you can't run from it. He said he never, and I've never supported gain of function research. In 2012, Dr. Fauci advocated for gain of function research. His buddy got in Wuhan in 2011, and they gave him 15 million in 2011. And then in 2012, he advocating for gain of function. That means building this super virus. Hey, here we going somewhere. Y'all read this? Boy, when we break it down, y'all gonna, oh, shake it off. I'm gonna let him hear about masks, because a lot of y'all run around here, oh, I'm wearing my mask, and get mad at people. They ain't got on no mask. I'm gonna let y'all hear this.
Any given time could be. So I'm hoping that you can tell us a bit more about how your understanding of what we should do has evolved, and maybe some of the areas where your guidance for people around the country has changed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're dealing with something that's changing in real time, Mark, that's really the nature of science. You look at the data and the information you have at any given time, and you make a decision with regard to policy based on that information. As the information changes, then you have to be flexible enough and humble enough to be able to change how you think about things. And I think, one of the important things that we're emphasizing right now that really evolved from a situation that did change is our insistence now on wearing masks. I mean, masks are very important. They protect you from giving infection to someone else if you happen to be inadvertently infected, and I'll get back to that in a moment.
Okay, now you heard what he just said. Now let's go over here. Fauci said masks not really effective in keeping out virus, email reveals. See, when he was saying that, he had already wrote this. These emails had already been written. So he knew what he just said was a lie. Oh, we're just gonna scare the hell out of them so they'll get the, here it goes. This is the email. Anthony Fauci, NIH. George, thanks for the note. I understand completely, no problem. We will get through this together. Regards, best regards, Tony. March 28, 2020. March 28, 2020. That interview with him and Mark Zuckerberg was in July 2020. Get where I'm going with this? At 8:50 p.m., George. Dear Tony, I know you are working extremely hard with a lot of pressure. Hope the U.S. situation is getting better eventually. I saw the science interview. How could I say such a word, big mistake, about others? That was journalist wording. Hope you understand. It was not a real interview, but a Q&A through social media. And for several days, when he asked me what China has done, is working on, let's work together to get the virus out of the earth. Best regards, George. George, thanks for the note. I was sending this to Dr. John Mascola, director of the NIAID Vaccine Research Center, and Dr. Barney Graham to follow up. Oh, I have to go down to the others because I have a string of emails. I'll put it in, I'll have that slide on the next video. You'll read it. But in that slide, in that email, it will say, Fauci said masks not really effective because the spores are so small that they seep through the mask. I'm going to let you read that email tomorrow. You got to come back and watch it. A little suspense. But see the liar in him? You see the lies, the pattern of lies? It was someone else that knew unequivocally that a pandemic was coming in the next administration.
Us to see it quickly, isolate it quickly, respond to it quickly. So that if and when a new strain of flu, like the Spanish flu, crops up 5 years from now or a decade from now, we've made the investment and we're further along.
5 years from now or a decade from now? I'm going to show you another slide where Bill Gates said, in 5 more years, we'll be done worked out the kinks of it and things will be more better when the next one comes around. That's a decade from now. Obama said 5 years from now, this is 2014, that's 2019 when this came out. And guess who Obama gave awards to?
It's useful when you think about this incredible collection of people to realize that this is what makes us the greatest nation on earth.
That collection of 21 individuals received the nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. President Obama presided over his last Medal of Freedom ceremony Tuesday.
This is a particularly impressive class.
The class included well-known entertainers and athletes, and those whose names and faces you might not know, but whose contributions to our nation are immense. The honor was not lost on the recipients. Some of them appeared visibly touched during the ceremony.
You have Ellen DeGeneres. Everybody knows about her. You have a lot of Hollywood, but most of all, he gave old Bill one. And how did he know that it was going to be in 2019, 5 years from now? Fauci said the next administration, what they will be faced with. You get where I'm going with this? Do you get where I'm going with this? We got a lot more to talk about, family. We got a lot more slides to get into. It's sickening, actually. I'm trying to, in some way, bring a form of humor to it, but it's very sickening. But I'm going to show you the indictment too of old Lieber. Here it is, right here.
The People's Republic of China. Dr. Charles Lieber of Lexington. A prominent Harvard professor has been put on leave and right now is in jail for allegedly helping the People's Republic of China. Dr. Charles Lieber of Lexington is accused of getting more than $1 million from China in exchange for research, then lying about it to government investigators. Boston 25 News reporter Alicia Rodriguez is live tonight at Harvard University. And Alicia, 2 other people were also arrested in separate cases.
Yeah, those 3 arrests today, each one worked closely with research done at either local schools or hospitals in this region at least. And a local security expert we spoke with has said that this just goes to show how big of a target the Boston region is for Chinese espionage. As Dr. Charles Lieber was arrested at his office at Harvard University, federal agents raided his home in Lexington Tuesday morning. Dr. Lieber, seen here accepting an award, is the chair of the Department of Chemistry and Chemical Biology at the Ivy League school, now accused of lying about also doing work for the Chinese government and the more than $1 million he took to do that work.
This is unfortunate. I don't think it's a ding on Harvard, but clearly this individual, this professor, was enamored with the money.
Bob Kinder is a veteran and national security expert. We spoke to him over the phone. He says Dr. Lieber's past research work with the Department of Defense and National Institute of Health indicated that he knew his research was confidential.
He was clearly briefed by both NIH and DOD on the sensitivity of his work and talking to foreign officials. He was very likely granted at least an interim security clearance, if not a full, secret security clearance to conduct his work.
Also in federal custody in a separate case, former Boston University student Yang Qingye. Investigators say while studying at BU, she sent U.S. military information to China. And a third person, Jung Zhao Jun, a researcher at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, was caught trying to smuggle 21 vials of biological research to China. He was arrested in December at Logan Airport.
You see what I'm saying, family? Do you see what I'm saying? You see how all of it just falls together? But we're going to go into details. Dr. Fauci. And I hope this administration does the right thing and immediately gets rid of him. He's compromised. And the American people deserve better. Millions of people have died all over this world because of this group of people. This is the criminal conspiracy of all time. This is the criminal conspiracy of all time. People are dying in the streets of America. It's time for truth and morality to stand tall. If you are a proud American, as you say you're supposed to be, and you guys are proud of this country, we can't stand for this man to be doing anything for the United States anymore. So you got to put pressure on this administration to arrest him and do a full investigation, because it's right here in front of you. He's a liar and a murderer, and he's not the only one. Part 2 tomorrow.